It's time for another cheap plastic camera challenge. Today we've got the Olympus Trip Edition. Coming right up. When I hear the words Olympus Trip, I automatically think of the original Olympus Trip 35, the super popular classic zone focus camera that was introduced in the 1960s. But Olympus actually had a whole line of simple point-and-shoot cameras under the Trip name that lasted all the way into the 2000s. Today we're going to look at two of those cameras. The Olympus Trip XB400 versus the Olympus Trip MD3. Before we get into today's cameras, let's go ahead and review the rules of the cheap plastic camera challenge. So I take two similar cameras, load them with identical rolls of film, in this case FUJI SUPERIA Extra 400, go out and shoot the rolls of film, and then come back here and determine which camera gives the most satisfying results. Now let's take a closer look at today's competitors. Here we have the Olympus Trip MD3, introduced in 1998. And there you can see the 34mm lens. It's got a maximum aperture of f6.9, 3 elements and 3 groups. Automatic flash with red eye reduction. The shutter is fixed at 1/125th of a second, and it focuses from 1.5 meters or 4.9 feet to infinity. See a flash indicator light there. It's a small viewfinder there. Film window here. This will recognize DX codes 100, 200, and 400. If your film is not DX coded, it defaults to 100. There's a mid-roll rewind button there. Standard tripod socket there. One thing that's nice, this takes easy to find AA batteries, 2 AA batteries here. Up top, you can see the frame counter here, shutter release button here, and the whole package is fairly light. It weighs in at 6.5 ounces or 184 grams without the batteries. Now we have the Olympus Trip XB400, released in the year 2000. We've got a 27mm lens with a maximum aperture of f6.3. It's 3 elements and 3 groups, so again, not terribly fast, but it does have automatic flash with red eye reduction built in. The electronic shutter is fixed at 1/100th of a second, and this one also focuses from 1.5 meters or 4.9 feet to infinity. Like the MD3, this also has auto advance and rewind. Really nice big viewfinder here. I really appreciate that. Film window again. And this also will recognize DX codes 100, 200, and 400. If your film is not DX coded, again, it defaults to 100. On the bottom here, mid-roll rewind. Again, a standard tripod socket here. And this model also takes 2 convenient, easy to find AA batteries. Now this one's even a little bit lighter than the MD3. This one weighs in at 5.2 ounces or 172 grams without the batteries. Frame counter here, shutter release here. Now that we've seen the cameras, let's fast forward in time and check out the images. All right, the results are in, and for me, the XB400 is the winner on two fronts. First of all, I was just generally more pleased with the image quality from the XB400 than I was with the MD3. This is personal preference, but for me, I like the contrast and the saturation of the images better from the XB400. Another thing I noticed is that there was more of a problem with flare on the MD3. You could tell that in one of the sunflower pictures, and I noticed also that parallax error was a little bit worse at close range on the MD3 as well. You could really tell that in the beer vault picture too. Now the second thing is the shooting experience in the field, and I would definitely give the edge to the XB400 on this front too, for a couple reasons. One reason is, if you've watched any of my other videos, you probably already know that I am a big fan of compact cameras, and the XB400 was noticeably smaller and lighter than the MD3. But the thing that really sealed it for me is that viewfinder. It is awesome. The XB400 viewfinder is super big, very roomy, maybe not quite as big as the viewfinder on the Canon SureShot Owl that I reviewed here recently, but the one on the XB400 is good in its own right. Now there are a few different variations of the XB400 out there. There's an XB401. I was made aware of another variation by a recent post by Sam Warner on the Negative Positives Film Photo Podcast Facebook group. Sam just picked up the Trip XB4K, and you can see from the picture it's virtually identical to the XB400. You can find Sam's blog at theunrecoveringphotographyaddict.com. You can also find his Instagram feed at unrecoveringphotographyaddict. Of course, you can find me on Instagram at theoldcameraguy. If you want to catch my next camera challenge, review, or giveaway, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell down below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, do some good, have some fun, and shoot some film.